Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the podcast, The Endurance of Labor Laws. I am your lovely host, Lesley Sullivan, and today is episode 104, and we are going to take a look at the Fugitive Investigative Strike Team, also known as FIST. And this agency or this team was around from 1981 to 1986. But first of all, let me give a big shout out to my listeners. So a big shout out to Virginia, Texas, Oklahoma, and New York. In terms of countries, the United States and Canada. So let's dive into this puppy. It says the Fugitive Investigative Strike Team, or FIST, were a series of operations conducted by the United States Marshals to capture violent fugitives wanted by state and federal law enforcement agencies in the United States. 9 operations were conducted between the years of 1981 and 1986. A little bit of history. In October 1979, the Attorney General transferred the responsibility of investigating and monitoring certain fugitives from the Federal Bureau of Investigation to the United States Marshal Services. 105 U.S. Marshal deputies were trained as enforcement specialists who would oversee investigation and apprehension of fugitives in their respective districts. In order to support these deputies, the Marshal Service created the Fugitive Investigative Strike Team concept. Fugitive investigation strike teams were meant to bolster districts experiencing a heavy load of fugitive activity. The FIST operations was made up of a number of investigators who could be deployed in operations to any district in the country in order to investigate and quickly apprehend fugitives. The primary targets of these operations were Class 1 offenders, which included escaped federal prisoners, bail jumpers, parole violators, and probation violators. The FIST operations worked primarily in the United States, but also collaborated with foreign officials to apprehend international fugitives, notably in the Caribbean. So obviously even felons like the beach, which we're going to see that quite a bit with this. So it says there were 9 FIST operations, and they were conducted over 5 years in Florida, California, the New England states, Washington, D.C., Michigan, and the Southwest United States. They were often included in sting operations. So the first operation was a trial program conducted in the Southern District of Florida, which encompasses Miami, almost like Miami Vice, right? The operation lasted 5 weeks, starting on October 6, 1981. 76 fugitive felons were arrested. Operation number 2 was conducted between December 1981 and February 1982 in Los Angeles, California. 102 fugitive felons were arrested. Operation number 3 was conducted in the New York metropolitan area for 10 weeks, starting April 13, 1982. 303 fugitive felons were arrested. Operation number 4 was conducted in the Washington, D.C. area between September 7th through November 18th, 1982. 614 arrests were made. Operation number 5 was conducted for 10 weeks throughout Michigan. The operation began in 1983 and 928 arrests were made. That's very interesting to me because that tells me fugitives and felons were trying to get into Canada. Operation number 6 was a 10-week operation conducted in the state of California, which resulted in, this is quite a large number, resulted in 2,116 arrests. Operation number 7 resulted in the arrest of 3,309 fugitive felons. It was conducted in Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. The operation lasted for 8 weeks, ending on November 20th, 1984. Operation number 8 was conducted in Florida and the Caribbean in the spring of 1985. 3,816 fugitives were arrested. Obviously, there are more people that enjoy the beach than we realize, even when they break the law. My goodness. And then Operation number 9 was conducted in Arizona, California, New Mexico, Texas, and Mexico, beginning on February 18, 1986, and lasting 8 weeks. More than 3,500 fugitives were arrested. Now, what I want to call to mind here is the fact of how many fugitives were arrested in the state of California. And this was during a time when the state of California actually honored its laws, rules, and regulations in regards to people that violate crimes, they violate the law and they commit a crime. They actually arrested bad people back then, whereas today, the state of California does not arrest people like it should. If anything, California has tried to make it legal to be illegal. They have also made illegal activity legal. An example of this are people that rob stores. There's a rule or a law in California that if the amount is under $500, then the property owner, the store owner, cannot call the police. And if the police are called, they cannot arrest these people, much less book them, because it's not considered a crime to steal anything under $500. And that is so horrible that California did that, because it makes it very unsafe for everyday citizens, and it also makes it really difficult for places of business to stay open. An example of this is Walgreens. Walgreens has pulled out so many of their stores from the state of California because they kept getting robbed, and horribly robbed. And that is really quite tragic, because Walgreens is actually not only a place where you can buy makeup and food and other things of that nature, but it's also a place where you get prescriptions filled. Well, there are quite a few people that have Walgreens listed as their selected pharmacy that is within their network. So now that Walgreens is hardly anywhere in the state of California, now these people that have health insurance policies are now having to find other pharmacies to fill their prescriptions because of all the thievery that has been allowed in the state of California. That's very unfortunate. I think the state of California can do a better job of protecting its citizens as well as its places of business. But unfortunately, it's gone to the dark side on things like this. It's not protecting people. It's not keeping society safe. They're not taking care of their homeless. The homeless population has greatly increased. Crime has greatly increased. Sanctuary cities have been authorized in the state of California. So illegal immigration has greatly increased in the state of California, which is very tragic that has happened. Also, there's been a higher than normal infectious disease rate at the border, actually at all borders, with the United States and Mexico, because people are coming in and we don't know what diseases they have, and we also don't know if they've been properly vaccinated. So we've got people coming into the United States that, first of all, should not be coming into the United States, but they also pose a tremendous health risk to the population of the United States. There are so many people that are coming in that have tropical diseases that are not native to the United States. We learned our lesson. Well, we actually didn't learn it. But an example of this is with Ebola. Ebola came in, and we should have stopped all people coming from certain countries. We should have stopped it immediately, but we delayed it. And we were not on top of it. Like the CDC did not do a good job of protecting the people of the United States from Ebola, much less West Nile virus, much less COVID-19. So it's one of those things that we don't know who these people are that are coming into the United States. And we need to be very careful about things like that. And there might be some people that would say, well, what does it matter? Well, here's the thing. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. It's literally that simple. I mean, what's the point of having laws if we're not going to enforce them or to honor them? See, what you need to remember is that when people come here illegally, they're not honoring our laws. They're already breaking the law. And it doesn't matter, what pity party story they have or what violin they play. It doesn't matter. They need to honor our laws. And they need to become legal citizens the right way, not the wrong way. So we just need to be careful about those things because, we don't know who all is coming into this country. We just don't know. And I think that's a big concern. And I just think that, considering how many felons were arrested during that time frame in the 80s, I bet there are easily 10 to 12,000 felons living in Los Angeles that could easily be arrested, and they should be arrested. But there's probably way more than that in the state of California just alone. I mean, just think about if this task force was reinitiated, how many people they could arrest and they could protect the United States, that they could protect us. But unfortunately, you have states like California that they don't really care about people. They say they do, but they just care about high taxes, they want your money, and they care more about the political agenda, where they don't really value human safety. They don't really value the lives of other people, because if they did, they would not allow all this crazy stuff that's going on in the state of California, which is very unfortunate, because the state of California is actually a wonderful state. It's just gotten so far off track that a lot of their people are leaving. So that tells me that their economy is tanking, and it has been tanking for a long time. They are bankrupt. They have not declared bankruptcy yet that I'm aware of. And it's just one of those things that it's not sustainable or livable to be in California at this point in time unless you are a millionaire or a billionaire. Excuse me, and even if you are a millionaire or a billionaire, I feel sorry for you because you're the one that's going to be financially on the hook for all the stuff that's going on in the state of California, and you should not be on the hook for all that stuff, because I think people are overtaxed in California, especially just in income tax and state income tax and property tax. It's very outrageous. It's ridiculous. I think those things need to be stopped. I think if you're going to have a tax, it shouldn't be higher than 10%. And in regards to property tax, it should not be collected every year. Property tax should only be collected at the point of sale, like when you're purchasing your home, and that's it. I think continuously paying a tax on something that you are not repeatedly repurchasing all the time, I think that's ridiculous to try and have that kind of tax, because it's a form of greed. So I think they need to work on some things with that. But anyway, I think this strike team should come back into force, should come back into play, because I think we have a lot of felons that are being allowed into the United States, and they need to be arrested and kicked out. I think they need to be deported, because our safety matters a lot here in the United States, and we need to take that seriously, and we need to do a better job of protecting our borders and protecting our citizens. But that is it for today's podcast. Probably for the next podcast, we will either take a look at a Superfund site in another state, or possibly go over another labor union. But until next time, I pray that you're happy, healthy, and whole, that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.